All right, everybody, welcome. Didn't know if we were going to get this going or not. We had a bit of a concern about 20 minutes ago. The whole system shut down. That was GoToWebinar, not me. But it did come back, so here we are. Thank goodness for that. So anyway, this is going to be a brief training on Taxbot. It's not going to be an extensive training. We're not to that point just yet. But just an overview of how it works, how to set it up, maybe what to take and say to people when we want to take and invite them to become a customer. So I'm going to start off with the question is, why does a business owner need Taxbot? And I'll ask you another question. What's the difference between having a bricks and mortar business versus a home-based business when it comes to taxes? Now, unfortunately, I've got you all muted, so I can't hear what you're answering, but I'll give you the answer, and there are no differences whatsoever. They're treated exactly the same by the IRS and the CRA. So, you know, we're entitled to exactly the same tax rates as anybody else. So, I'm just curious, when you're talking to people about saving taxes, have you ever got this response? Well, my accountant does my taxes. Yeah, I've gotten that many times, so therefore, you know, they're saying, well, I don't really need your help. But just remember that their accountant takes care of their income, not yours. So their interest is how much money that they can make. They're not terribly concerned exactly how much money they can save you. How about this one? I already get a tax refund every year. I'm doing okay. Well, I guess you are, because it's your own money they're giving back to you. Now, 84% of small business owners, they overpay their taxes. Now, why do they overpay their taxes? Well, 9 times out of 10 it comes down to lack of education and the proper tools. And who loves the paperwork? Because, I mean, let's face it, paperwork is really time-consuming. And how about the big one, procrastination? Boy, I don't know if I really want to do that. And has anybody run into this before, the lost and faded receipts? You know, they do it on that newfangled paper now, and the receipts fade after a very short period of time. And how about those mileage logs? You know, they're a huge pain in the neck. And you know what? And you don't know the rules, and let's face it, none of us want to be audited. Now, Taxbot was created by a former CPA and a former IRS trainer named Sandy Botkin. And he has 3 simple strategies to save us taxes. Strategy number 1 is we have to make sure that we deduct our meals. Now, I don't know how many of you out there actually deduct your meals, but you have to start considering that everybody is a potential client. Your best friends, your family members, your neighbors, everyone. And every lunch or dinner or whatever should be deductible, 50%. You should be writing off every meal, otherwise you're losing thousands of dollars every year. Now, you can also deduct 50% of your fun and entertainment if you talk business within the same 24-hour period. Now, there's only some criteria to this. You have to show 6 things. And this is something that the CRA, and obviously if you're in the States, the IRS, they have to know this. First of all, who were you doing, who were you with? What were you doing? Where were you doing it? When were you doing it? And why were you doing it? And how much did you spend? Now, a tax tracker is your auto insurer against the CRA and any future audits. So I know I mentioned it before. Has anybody ever run into those lost or faded receipts? You know, those ones that are stacked up in the corner in the shoebox? And this is another thing that I wasn't absolutely clear on, but I got clarified that credit card information, you know, I've gotten all my credit card stuff. I know exactly how much I've spent in that. They won't accept that. That's just not an acceptable form of audit material. Strategy number 2, how many of you actually deduct your vehicles? If you don't write off your vehicle, you're losing $1 for every kilometer that you drive. And then, are you documenting your mileage correctly? How do you track your mileage? Now, there's 2 ways to actually track your mileage. There's the actual way, which is you're figuring out the percentage of business use, and that's for your gas and your oil, your insurance, washing, waxing, depreciation. You know, business mileage compared to total mileage, which means you need to document all that stuff. There's also the CRA method, which was something new to me. I just found this out. If you drive your car more than 35,000 kilometers and your vehicle is worth less than $19,000, your first 5,000 kilometers you're going to get 52 cents a kilometer. Your next 5,000 kilometers you get 46 cents a kilometer. So let's use a for instance here. If you drive 10,000 kilometers for business in a year, you're going to get 5,000 kilometers at 52 cents, which is $2,600, and 5,000 kilometers at 46 cents per kilometer, which is $2,300, for a total of 10,000 kilometers, which is $4,900, which you can actually deduct for a business expense for your vehicle. Now, I looked at that and I said, well, you know, that's probably a better way to take and do a deduction rather than keeping actual mileage. And you can also deduct a significant portion of your personal trips as long as you talk to somebody about business along the way. And then finally he talks about a strategy number 3, and that's home office deduction. Now I know a lot of you run an office out of your home, and if you don't, unfortunately you're losing about $2,500 a year in tax deductions. So I said all that to say this. What if you had a robot that could track your mileage for you, instantly record deductions, automatically save receipts, give you tips and strategies on saving your tax dollar, back up all deduction records in case of loss, audit-proof your records with simple to answer questions, motivate you to maximize your tax deductions, prepare records for your accountant, help grow your business, and what if it worked on an iPhone, an Android, and your web devices? So that comes down to the question, so what exactly is Taxbot? Well, Taxbot's an app that makes tax saving easy. It keeps track of all your deductions. It's automatic or manual tracking of mileage. You're not required to have a logbook or a journal. You can classify trips as personal or business. It allows you to digitally store receipts. So in other words, you no longer have to store your receipts in a shoebox. It's 100% CRA compliant. It does audit-safe reports that can be printed out or given in a digital form. And everything is stored in the cloud, not on your phone or your desktop, and they use 256-bit encryption. And finally, it's accountant friendly. You're going to spend less time with your accountant, which means less cost to you. So now there's actually 2 versions of Taxbot. There's a mobile version and a desktop version. Now, like I said before, this is just a basic overview of Taxbot and some of the functions within the program. And I'm going to be going through the mobile and the desktop, and I'll do an example at the very end on the desktop version. So let's just start with the basics on a mobile version. First of all, you're going to take and download the app. Now if you've got an Android, go to the Play Store, and if you've got an iPhone, then you can go to the App Store. Simply look for Taxbot and download it to your phone. Now once it's all installed, your next step will be to sign in. Now this may not be exactly what the screen looks like, to be absolutely truthful. I don't remember, but I know it does have a sign in and a sign up. You don't want to sign up because you're already registered with Trinont. So sign in, and you're going to be using your Trinont login, your email address and your password that you picked for Trinont. Now as soon as you get in, the first thing you want to do is you want to take and set up your settings. That's that little gearbox up in the top right hand corner. Now you can either do it here on your app or you can do it on your desktop version. Now what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to fill in some information to keep track of your mileage and your vehicle and your business entities. So under business, it's going to allow you to create an entity, and in most people's cases it's going to be Trinont. And then you're going to put your vehicle information there as well, and then configure your odometers. You're going to put all that information in there. Now I'll just forewarn you with regards to banking logins. There are no banking logins with this particular version. We don't do banking on it. Now one of the nice things about Taxbot is that you can do manual tracking or you can do automatic tracking of your trip. This little toggle here on the screen that you see is actually going to allow you to toggle it and to turn on your GPS function on your phone. Now the nice part about the GPS function on your phone, once you've got it turned on, as soon as you reach 15 kilometers per hour, it is going to start tracking using your GPS function. And it's going to keep on going until you stop for at least 6 to 10 minutes. And then it'll put a mark on the map, and then if you start up again, it'll take and pick up from there. And what that's going to do is that it's going to allow you to take and actually track your trips as you go along, and it's going to allow you to take and go back and designate them as either personal or business. So you can also do the tracking manually. So you just click on the Start Mileage Tracking. It's going to take and locate on your map exactly where you are, and then when you stop, it's going to take and locate that as well, and it'll fill in the route in between. You also get to add a manual mileage if you want. You can just look at your odometer and put that in after, get it to calculate the mileage for you. The nice part about it is that you don't have to do anything once you've activated with your GPS. It's going to fill in that information there, your starting address, your ending address, and if it's just a personal, then you can click that little toggle button there as well. Once again, you're going to put in your business entity, the vehicle you're using, and the purpose of your trip. And please always remember to click the save button. If you don't click the save button, nothing happens. So now let's go on and take a look at an expense. So if we were to add an expense, we click on this little tile on the screen, and it's going to take us to here where we can actually fill in an expense. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to select a category. Now there's a whole pile of pre-filled categories there that they give you a really good selection actually, and if there's nothing there that fits what you want, you can actually create your own. So when you click on that, you're going to get a drop down here which will give you, like I said, a whole pre-populated list of different types of categories for expenses. So you just pick the one that fits and you put it in there. Now in this case here, let's just say we're going to use parking tolls. So then you're going to take and put in what the expense is. Now obviously in the case here, it's probably going to be for parking. But you go ahead and you put that in that description there. In this case here, I guess it was an appointment with a client rather than the parking, but it was in the parking lot. So then you're going to fill in all of the rest of the information, the total amount that you spent. You don't bother with GST, HST, or PHT. You put in where the expense took place, who you were seeing at the time, and the business entity that was being used here. In most cases, it's Trinant. Now, this was set up this way specifically by Sandy for a reason, because there's 6 criteria that the IRS and the CRA look for, and everything that's there is one of those items on the criteria. Where it was, when it was, where you were, who you were with, what you spent the money on, how much you spent. All of that information is required to take and make the IRS and the CRA quite happy. So when we go ahead and we have an expense, we can also attach a trip. Now if we happen to have recorded a trip with our GPS or our tracker, then we can attach that trip to this. All we have to do is click on that attached trip, pick up the trip that that it's accompanied with this expense, and then they're merged together. Now another thing that is nice feature about this whole thing is we can actually add a receipt. Now if you happen to have gone to a restaurant and you got a receipt, you just go ahead and you click on receipt, click on camera, and it'll actually take a picture of that receipt and store it in the cloud. You don't have to worry about those faded receipts anymore. Those you can keep them in a shoebox if you like, but you're not going to need them. So it's kind of nice in that respect. And oh yes, always remember to click on the save button. Now another function here is also you can take and put in add incomes. Now to be absolutely truthful, I haven't gotten to this point yet. I could probably put my Trinant income in here, but I haven't actually done this. But it all works in exactly the same manner as the rest of them. You just go ahead and put them in. Now down at the bottom there's a little button called More. So if you click on that button, you're going to get this little pop-up here that says Tutorials, Reports, and Settings. So if you were to click on Tutorials, you're going to get a whole pile of different types of videos that you can actually watch. If there's something that you're not actually familiar with, you don't know exactly how to set up your account, you're not sure how to add your the mileage manually, you want to take a look at something specific, and there are a lot here, you can actually click on those and you can actually watch the video. So if you look at the reports, it'll actually bring up a report. Now this is not the type of report that you're going to see in the desktop version. The desktop version is the type of report that you're actually going to take to your accountant. But this will give you a basic overview of what your expenses might look like. And last but not least, if you ever have to take and clear your data and log out, this is the button you'll use here. Now I haven't done this yet. I'm a little bit afraid to do it because I don't want to lose all my data, but just remember it is all backed up on the cloud, so it's always there. Always love those pop-ups. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the app. Now I want to take and get into the desktop version. Now the desktop version is actually a far more extensive version, and I like working on the desktop version because well, just let's face it, that small screen is a little hard on the eyes. But on the desktop version it's very, very simple. When you get into your Trinont account, you just you click on the access button on Taxbot, and it's logged you in right away, and this is kind of what you're greeted with when you first get in there. Now obviously up in the right hand corner there's that little gear again, which you can go ahead and you can actually click on it and do your settings, and it'll bring you to this screen here, and this is where you can actually, and logged in, it'll have your name in there, it'll display your name as well. Make sure you click on the Canada button because we don't want to be using all of the US stuff. The videos and the video help, the tutorials that are in here, when you change them to Canada, they do change quite drastically. Then you're going to want to take and enter a vehicle, and it's nice part about this, you can edit them and you can delete them at any time. So if you happen to make a mistake or whatever, you can always change that. Then you put in the odometer reading and the year of the vehicle, and then you have different business entities that you can put in there. Now that's pre-populated with charity, medical, and personal. Now obviously you're going to want to put your business in there, be whatever it is, and you can actually then at this point right here you can actually change those expense categories and income categories right down there at the bottom of the screen. So when we come back to the dashboard, up in the top right hand corner there's a little blue help button. Now that blue help button's on every page, and when you click on that blue help button, you're going to get a short video pop-up on the screen that's going to take and give you an explanation of exactly what that screen is all about. Now these are very, very short videos. In this case of this one here, it's about 7.5 minutes, and it's going to take and describe everything that's on that current page that you can do. So this is what the trip page looks like. Okay, and then once again up in the corner there you have that help button. Remember, that help button is going to allow you to pop up a video right on the screen here, and it's going to give you a video tutorial of exactly what's happening on the screen at any point in time. Alright, so when you get to the trips, over on the well, let's not add a triplet. Over on the left hand side there you get classified, and there's two little windows there. One is to take and open up the map view, and one is to open up the list view, which is what we're looking at here right now. Now let's just say for instance you wanted to add a trip. So you'd click up in the upper right hand corner on add a trip, and you're going to get this kind of a screen pop up. Now we're going to do this later on as an example just so you can actually see it in live time, but I'm going to just walk you through exactly how simple it is. So let's first of all, let's start out with our starting address. Now you're going to put in that starting address, and you're going to put in your ending address. Now you have the next option here is you can put in personal or round trip. Now in most cases, most trips are going to be round trips unless you've got several trips recorded that day. So you want to put in exactly what the business was and what vehicle you're using. And then you're going to put in a reason for the trip. And obviously if that's going out and you're meeting somebody for lunch or whatever and you're going to talk business, you're going to put that information right in there. Now as soon as you've done that, that's recorded, and you click on the save button, that is recorded in your trips. And then you can assign that trips to any of your expenses. So this is the expenses menu, our screen, and there again up in the upper right hand corner is the little help button, which again will pop up a video for this particular screen. So you're never by yourself. You'll always have something there that's going to take and teach you as you go along. So let's go ahead and let's just walk through adding an expense. So when you click on that add expense button, this is the screen that's going to come up. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to actually put in a description of the expense. You're going to put in the total amount of dollars, and obviously we're in Canada, so we're going to use Canadian dollars. Then you're going to click on the expense category over here. Now when you click on that, there's a little plus beside that. If the particular category is not in the list and you want to make one, that's how you would do it. Click on that plus sign and it's going to allow you to add one. But for now, when you click on that box, you're going to get a drop down of lots of pre-populated different types of expense categories. So you simply pick the one that suits, or if nothing there, then you just add your own. Then you're going to take and put the date in, the appropriate date. Obviously it'll probably be the current date that you're on. And then you're going to put who you were seeing, and once again the business that is associated with this. Now the nice part about it is, like I said, you can actually add a trip. So in the case here, we can select a trip, pick that trip, and it will be attached to this particular expense. Then we can also attach a receipt. Now in the case of the desktop application, obviously we don't have a camera on our desktop application, so in this case what will happen is you will have taken a picture of that receipt with your phone, and then you will take and send that phone to your desktop so it can find it. So when I say click on attached receipt, it's actually going to go out and look for that particular receipt, and it's going to take and bring it right into the whole system, and then you're going to click on the save button over there. Always remember, click on the save button. Very, very important. I've done that several times now, and I've ended up losing everything by not clicking on the save button. So the income screen is done exactly the same way. The help button's there to take and pop up a video for you. I know it's getting kind of repetitious, but this is kind of the way it works. Once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you've got a really good understanding of exactly what's happening on the screen. When you click on add an income, you get the same type of screen as you do with the expense. Once again, you fill in all the information. Then you get down to the reports. Now this is the really interesting part, because this is actually the part where you're going to take all of this information to your accountant. And the accountant's going to love you for it, because the accountant no longer has to do anything. It's all organized for them. So when you click on the generate, here's the help button. Obviously it's going to come up there, and it's going to walk you through exactly what there is as far as the tutorial to help you with this reports screen. Now you're going to click on the generate reports tab. Now everything that you've got in there from whatever's logged into your date range up at the top, so you can obviously pick a date range, a starting date and an ending date. You can pick the businesses involved, and yes, you can do several businesses at once in this application. You're not limited to just one business, and it will track all of them. So you click on the generate reports, and what will happen then is this screen will pop up, and you're going to get all of these different functions and abilities to actually be able to save your reports. You can click on all reports, and you can download it as a zip file, and that's going to take and include things like the audit safe report, the trips spreadsheet, the expenses spreadsheet, and any of your receipts images that it has that you've taken. Or you can take and do each one individually: the audit safe report, the expense spreadsheet, and the receipt images, as well as the trips spreadsheet. So it's really quite functional, and the The idea is to take and actually get in here and play around with it, because there's nothing you can do to hurt this. Like I said, if you don't click on the save button, it's not going to save anything, so it doesn't matter. So next one down the list is different types of reports. Now this, your accountant might be interested in this, you might not be interested in that. I know I'm not at this point in time. But anyway, there's a profit and loss report, there's an expenses by category report, there's an expenses by month report, and there's an expenses by distance report. So it really gets into quite an extensive different amounts of reports, which is what this is all about, because you are going to use this to get your tax refund. So the more reports, the better. So the next button down is technical help. Now this is going to pop up some of the frequently asked questions with regards to Taxbot. Things like, how do I update my billing and credit card information? Can I track multiple businesses? As I said, yes, you can track multiple businesses with Taxbot. Can I track multiple vehicles? There again, yes, you can track multiple vehicles. And it goes on. And there's quite an extensive number of FAQs there. Now, if you don't happen to find exactly what you're looking for, just click on this next button and it says See Knowledge Base. And it's going to take you to this particular website. And this is going to allow you to actually type in your question, and it's going to take and look through its knowledge base and see if it can come up with an answer for you. So then you're going to go down to technical help. Now on the on the video tutorials, there again, these are more video tutorials with regards to adding a trip, expenses, and actually in reality they are exactly the same tutorials that pop up on each individual screen. The next button down is tax help. Now this is extensive. These are where all of your not so common questions might get answered. There are literally, I think there's probably 36 different types of videos here in this library, and each one of these, they all deal with something different. So what you really want to do is just go through them. They're not very long videos. They're only about 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. So if you've got some questions with regards to what are the rules for gifts and entertainment, what do I need for travel documentation, so on and so forth. Anything you can find or any question you might have, it will be right there. And then they also have a blog that you can go to. And these are obviously, if anybody's ever been on a blog before, you know exactly what it's all about. People are in there asking questions and answering questions and so on and so forth. Very, very extensive information for you. So you're never at a loss for understanding and finding information with regards to Taxbot. And finally, last but not least, there is this one down at the bottom that says Documents. Now, this is not a document that you actually download or anything like this. This is where you actually take your documents and you upload them to the cloud for safekeeping. We don't want something happening to your personal computer or to your phone and finding out that all of your data has gone corrupt. So every time that you actually utilize your app or your desktop version, it automatically syncs to the cloud every single time. So what I want to do now is I just want to go through a quick example of how you would actually put in a trip. So I'm going to take and go into my Taxbot, and I'm going to actually put in a trip. I'm going to click on Add a Trip up in the corner here. So this is actually live right now. So you can see some of the trips that are already in there, but I'm going to take and go over here and I'm going to actually put some information in here with regards to a trip that I'm going to log in. So I'm going to put in a starting address, and then I'm going to put in an ending address. And then I got a choice. I can click either personal, or I can leave it as business, and I can actually put in round trip here. Then I'm going to obviously take and pick Trinont as my business. There's my car. I'm going to put in a description here, and that's just going to be meet with client. Alright, and then I'm going to save. Now you see up at the top there it said trip saved. So that trip is now saved. Now I can also click on this button over here where it says compute route, and it actually will map it out on the map for you. And this is all done through Google Maps, obviously. So you can not only will you have a starting and an ending thing, but you'll also have the map right on the screen. Zoom in and zoom out just like you do in Google Maps. So now what I want to do is I want to create an expense for that particular trip. So if I click over here on expenses and I go over here to add an expense, there again, once I get the description up at the top. So I'm going to just put in here meet with client to discuss POS system. Alright, total, okay, in this case here we stopped and we went to a restaurant, so we had lunch, and I met with this client, and the particular cost on this was $21.25. Now on the expense category I put down meals and entertainment. The vendor location was obviously that 1658 Bedford Highway. The date I'm going to leave as today. I'm not going to put in anything in GST, HST, or PST. Who did I meet with? I met with Johnny Appleseed. Okay, and that's a good friend of Les's. He's probably on the line here. So, and then the business is going to be Trinont, and I'm going to actually attach a trip to it. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually allow me to pick a trip. Now there's that trip that I just created, so I can attach that trip, and then I can actually attach a receipt to it. Now it's going to ask me where is the receipt. Well, in this particular case I've saved the receipt on the desktop. Now that a receipt is attached. Now all I have to do is click the save button. Everything's saved. That's how easy it is. Obviously it's a lot easier to take and do on the desktop version than it is on your app version, but everything works exactly the same on your app as well. So like I said, always make sure that you save, because it does not prompt you if you get off that screen. That's something that they should probably look at putting in there, but at this point in time, if you do not click save, it will not save it, and you'll end up having to put in again. So that's kind of a really quick brief overview of exactly what Taxbot is all about. Now obviously there's a lot more to it than that. The nice part about it here is up in the upper right hand corner of the screen you can see that it actually keeps a running tabulation of all your deductions for that year. It does exactly the same on your app on the bottom, so you always know from one day to the next exactly what your deductions are and what kind of a tax refund you're looking at. So just in conclusion here, just kind of what are the benefits to people who have Taxbot? Well, you're going to increase your retention because your people are going to stay with you because you're actually going to show them how to keep more of their money. The documentation is so easy. I mean, anybody can do this. It's so simple. It's kind of like a business in a box, and it's going to save you literally thousands on your taxes. And I think that's what it's all about here. It's not so much about how much we make, but it's how much we keep. It's going to actually make you take your business far more seriously than you would. It's going to bulletproof your records, because every time that you do something, all of your information is automatically synced to the cloud. You no longer have to worry about it. You're going to have more apparent cash flow because you're always going to see your deductions up there, so you know that you're actually saving more money. It's going to give the CRA stronger proof that you're actually a business owner, because you're taking this seriously. You're not treating it like a hobby. And it's going to allow you to customize your reports so that those reports that actually go to your accountant or actually go to the CRA, you're not going to have issues with any of that.